Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Lanyok, Heshviuk. Welcome to another episode of Walking with Willie.
I like it too. Welcome to Kaaterskill Falls. For generations, inspiring scenery and abundant recreation have attracted sightseers to Kaaterskill. We got the escarpment trail in the lower falls that way, and the falls viewing platform this way.
He did the hike in the morning. He has a morning hike, a lunch hike.
Whoa, pretty fucking cool. Look at that. Rip Van Winkle country. Kaaterskill Falls. A Dutch word, Rip Van Winkle. A Dutch-American guy. Reminds me of being a boy. So Rip Van Winkle, he's a fiction of character, created by Washington Irving, short stories, 1760s, as I was saying. He's a henpecked man. His wife, Dame Van Winkle, runs the roost around the house. Rip is a beloved guy in the town, particularly from the kids. They're always playing jokes on him. He loves to do chores and favors for people. He runs around in the woods all day. He shoots, he catches fish, but he doesn't like to work on his own farm. And that's why his wife, well, drives him goddamn crazy with all her nagging. A little Alexa plant-based tempeh, avo, peppers, spilling out, looks delicious. Correction, this is actually tofu. Marinated tofu. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I'm becoming plant-based. Before all these people's very eyes. All right, well, that was the viewing point in the upper falls. Now we're going escarpment trail, lower falls, across the bridge. So Rip Van Winkle, he came up into these here Catskill Mountains with his dog Wolf. Up and up and up he went. And he came across a peculiar man, short, squat, and dressed as if he were inside a 16th century Vermeer painting. Dutch, as the settlers that came over to New York 100 years before. And he led him kind of on a little bit of a wild goose chase through the mountains with his dog Wolf, and they wind up in this mysterious looking amphitheater. There's actually two sets of lower falls. There's a nice pool which we could see from the viewing platform up there, midway up. We're down here at the lowest one. So, have a little gander, splash around a bit, follow Mr. Rip Van Winkle on his continuing tail, and then go up to the second cantilever for a real dynamic waterfallic experience. Look at the rainbow. Ho ho ho. Ho ho ho. So old Rip Van Winkle, he enters this amphitheater, all these strangely dressed Dutchmen, and they're playing this game called Nine Pins. Now I don't really know what Nine Pins is. I assume it's some sort of bowling favored in the Dutch colonial era. Anyway, they're playing Nine Pins. Rip is trying to work his way around, see what's going on. He's kind of baffled, mystified. A bunch of little Dutch hobgoblins playing Nine Pins in this amphitheater in the middle of the Catskill Hills. Odd. The liquor, let's just say it gets busted out. Busted open, busted out. The Dutch are drinking themselves silly. And Mr. Rip, Mr. Van Winkle, he starts to indulge himself in a little bit of this strong Dutch liquor. And he's taking quaffs and he's taking drafts. And next thing you know, well, he's passed out, asleep, and wakes up in the same exact place he started the night. But his dog is gone. Wolf has vanished. And his gun, his beautiful gun, it's rusted and filled with dirt. He thinks that the Dutch ripped him off. They stole his gun. They traded it out for this piece of shit. They took his dog, and he's furious. He goes and he tries to find the amphitheater where the party and the Nine Pins was the night before. He's bumbling, he's stumbling around the mountains looking for these Dutch. Can't find a lick of them, can't find a trace of them. Eventually he says, oh well, heads back down the mountain and goes back to his favorite pub. And he looks up at the picture on the pub, and it's of a cheery, red-faced man named George. He thinks it's George III, the King of England, when he went up the mountain in 1760. Look at this. It's Rip Van Winkle. And that's what he looked like when he came down the hill. And when he saw King George III, it wasn't really King George III. It was George Washington. Because he had been asleep for 18 years.
Really cool. We left out a key ingredient which might make you think twice about having yourself some sanguinaccio dolce. And what is the key ingredient we left out? Is it pig's blood, crushed beetles, candied fish roe, or chicken fat? What is the key ingredient
Pig's blood.
left out of sanguinaccio dolce?
And now I want to take you back to our friend Rip Van Winkle. So when he enters this pub with King George III, or so he thinks, but actually George Washington on the door, he doesn't realize that it's been 30 years, or 20 years rather, since he's been seen. And the other pub goers, they ask him which George is he loyal to? George III or George Washington? And Rip Van Winkle still thinks he's living under the years of the British monarchy. He thinks it's 1760. So he says, King George III. Mad King George. Of course. And the townspeople inside the inn, they're like, what? Traitor! Tory! Tory! You're on the side of the British. Because Rip, he doesn't know about the rebellion. He doesn't know about the revolution. He slept through the whole damn thing on that strong Dutch liquor. And he's all taken aback and he says, wait. You must know my friends. He starts naming people, some Dutch names, Zimmer, Zummer, Vummer, Vommer, whoever it is, the school teacher, the librarian, this person, that person. No one's ever heard of any of them. Now Rip's just about losing his mind. He doesn't realize he has a gray beard and that 20 years have passed. And he says, look, do you know anyone named Rip Van Winkle? And nobody's heard of Rip Van Winkle. He can't believe it. And then one lady comes over and she goes, Rip Van Winkle, we've been looking for you for 20 bloody years. And immediately, Rip Van Winkle goes from being public enemy number one to an object of affection. The townspeople, some of them at least, start to remember him. Rip Van Winkle, Rip Van Winkle. They're ecstatic. And he becomes, for the rest of his life, sort of a beloved old historian of the town. And he tells his story, he tells his tale about falling asleep and meeting the Dutchman. And most people, they think, Rip Van Winkle doesn't really know what he's talking about. But they say that the old Dutch settlers of this area, the Kaatskills, they believed him to the hilt, and his word was taken as gospel. Rip Van Winkle, the man who disappeared over the mountains, imbibed Dutch liquor with a group of 9-pins players from a Vermeer painting. Woke up 20 years later, revolution, here I am, no one believed him, and then they kind of did. And that's the end of the story.
Resale price.
Adidas Yeezy Boost 70.
That's how we jump in. That's how we jump in.
Look at that.
Yo, it's all in the mind. He's gonna run, look straight, and jump.
Heard it here first.